Welcome in. It is time to finish up three more groups today at day 15 of the World Cup. It is Groups D, Groups E, and Groups F. In Group D, it is the United States taking on Türkiye and Paraguay taking on Australia. Interesting scenarios to get to there. In Group E, it is Curaçao taking on Côte d'Ivoire and Ecuador taking on Germany. And in Group F, it's Japan against Sweden, which might be a fantastic game, and Tunisia against the Netherlands. A lot to get into, so let's get after it. Welcome into World Cup Preview, World Cup Today here on the Nick Burt Sports Network. I am your host, as always, Nick Burt. As mentioned, Groups D, Groups E, and Groups F finish up today. After yesterday, we saw Mexico finish out Group A. We saw Brazil and Switzerland clinch Groups B and C. Very interesting day, to say the least. We got a lot more to get to. Only, I believe, one of these groups is decided at the moment, so let's get straight into it. That first group we'll do Group D, even though that is the latest kickoff of the day. That is the only group that has your group winner decided, and that is the United States. They already have 2 points out of 2. They are on to the round of 32 as the first place team in Group D, after a 4-1 win against Paraguay and a 2-0 win against Australia. They take on Türkiye today, a Türkiye team that still has yet to score at this World Cup, which is interesting to say the least, given the hype of them being a dark horse here. Again, maybe don't read too much into Türkiye being a dark horse because it never works out. Pochettino already came out. The players on yellow cards are going to be on the bench to start tomorrow, which is the smart thing to do. Truly, I don't want to say this is a glorified friendly, because it's basically what it is, but this is the World Cup. Nothing's a friendly. Even friendlies aren't really friendlies. It's the smart move to do tactically, because yellow cards clear after the group stage. I believe they clear after the round of 16, if I'm mistaken. It's the round of 16 or the quarterfinals. It's one of the two. So there are 2 resets here at this World Cup. So that's going to be interesting to see how that balances out, because that means there's going to be a lot of squad rotation. Another question is Pulisic. Seems like he's healthy. How much time is he going to get tomorrow? Because he's only played 45 minutes at this World Cup. So it's going to be interesting to see how they balance that act there. For Türkiye, it's literally just about getting on the board here. Even though you have already been eliminated from the tournament, it's all about trying to get on the board. And I think it's going to be a struggle for them. I do think the U.S. takes this 3 out of 3, something I don't believe they've ever done before, which would just be absolutely phenomenal, to say the least. Obviously, their path already settled. They don't have much to play for. In the other game, it is Paraguay going up against Australia. Very interesting game, because if there is a winner in this game, they clinch that second spot in this group. If there's a draw, the table will stay as it is right now. Australia will finish top of Paraguay in second place with a 0 in their goal differential compared to Paraguay's -2. This is a very interesting game, because I don't truly know how they're going to play this. Miguel Almiron suspended with the red card. He is one of the key players for Paraguay. Paraguay scored in the second minute against Türkiye and then struggled the rest of that game. They were kind of lucky they didn't concede. So therefore, going to be very interesting to see how this Paraguay team bounces back, basically, because this Australia team, I know they played well against Türkiye, but they looked lost against the United States. So this is truly a big bounce back game for both sides. It's going to be very intriguing to see how that plays out because you look back to the starting lineup for Australia in the U.S. game. Nestor Irakundia, I believe, again, pronunciation might be incorrect on that, but the Watford player, did not get the start against the United States, even though he scored the opening goal in Australia's 2-0 win against Türkiye. I found that very odd that you would take off one of your scores, and that just didn't make sense. I would expect him to be back in the starting lineup because when he got subbed on, Australia changed. They looked much better tactically in the second half with him on. I'll be interested to see if he gets the start. I would assume he gets the start. And I do think that will help Australia advance on to the round of 32. I think they do either get the draw or get the win here. And I see them going on. So my official prediction is the group stays as it is. The United States finish first. Australia will finish second. Paraguay third. And Türkiye finish fourth. We move on to Group E. These will be your first kickoffs of the day. 4 p.m. Eastern Time kickoffs. It is Curaçao going up against the Ivory Coast and Ecuador going up against Germany. Germany is the only team that has advanced on in this group. They have not clinched the group. Given scenarios, I guess, can play out where they can lose the group. I think it's got to be one wild, convoluted scenario. But it does very much seem that Germany will be advancing on as the champions of Group E. It's an interesting group because I said if I were the Ivory Coast coming into this and goal differential is going to come into play, you would want to be playing Curaçao in your final game. They probably won't have to deal with, goal differential because no game in this group featuring the Ivory Coast has ended in a draw, so they do not have to worry about that. But I think they're still going to want to put up a number against Curaçao just to solidify things. And I think they win that quite easily. On the other game, Ecuador-Germany. Ecuador is basically fighting to, stay out of that third place question mark spot. For Germany, I don't know what you do in this game because you do have first place basically wrapped up. Do you rest some of the players? That's going to be an interesting dynamic because that is, once again, this game is kind of glorified friendly for Germany, but for Ecuador, it's still all to play for, which very interesting to see how that plays out because the third place scenarios are getting very messy very fast. We've only finished 3 groups and it's already a mess. And technically, Curaçao could theoretically finish in third place. Again, a mess. Goal differential would come into play on that one because they drew 0-0 with Ecuador. But obviously, the goal differential is quite different there. So, Curaçao most likely finishing in fourth. So, this group probably ends the same way that it sits right now. Germany first. Côte d'Ivoire second, Ecuador third, Curaçao fourth. And finally, we get to Group F, all to play for here. 3 of these 4 teams can technically win the group, I believe, depending on how results go. Only team eliminated is Tunisia, and they will be taking on the Netherlands. Get the goals ready for that one because that's probably going to be a high-scoring game. And then you have Japan going up against Sweden. If there's a winner in that game, they will advance on to the round of 32, and the loser will drop down into those third-place spots. That is very, very interesting. That is going to be the game of the day tomorrow, I think, hands down. Because as we sit right now, the Netherlands are in first on 4 points with a +4 goal differential. Goals for 7, goals against 3. For Japan, they are in second on 4 points with a +4 goal differential. Goals for 6, goals against 2. So they're even. They drew 2-2. They are even on points right now. They are even on goal differential. Netherlands is only ahead right now on goals for. So intriguing there. For Sweden, they sit in third place right now on 3 points, a 0 goal differential. They have scored 6 and conceded 6 because of that game against Tunisia where they won 5-1, and then the game against the Netherlands where they lost 5-1. So that is going to be quite an interesting match, to say the least, between Japan and Sweden. Japan, it's going to be at the AT&T Stadium. Japan has already played there. Now, Sweden, they've been training in Frisco, so they kind of are in the Dallas Metroplex area, so they don't have to travel as far. That's interesting to me. Obviously, in the other game, Netherlands are winning that game, and probably quite easily, if we're honest. But Japan-Sweden, that feels like it's going to end a draw. But if I had to pick a team to win, it's going to be Japan. Obviously, what I saw from Sweden in Game 2 was dreadful. It was absolutely horrendous. If you're a team like Scotland right now, you are hoping that Japan win and kind of win big, because Sweden are locked into that third place spot, basically. With that result, and then goal differential starts coming into play. And with Scotland sitting at -3 goal differential right now, a little shaky for them, to say the least. So they will probably be hoping Japan put up a big number on Sweden. Overall, though, it is a very interesting day of matches today. Like I said, Sweden-Japan, that is what I am looking forward to the most. I cannot wait for that one. But in Paraguay, Australia, that is a kind of hidden gem because it's a 10 p.m. kickoff. So I don't think a lot of people are going to be like locked into that one. That's a hidden gem game because that game decides second place. Everywhere else, it's kind of just a meh toss-up. It is what it is. I can't wait for the action for tomorrow, or today, I should say. And the action tomorrow, even better. We will, of course, preview that tomorrow morning. So thank you so much for watching here on the Nick Bird Sports Network. If you just stumble across this video, click like, click subscribe. Tell me you know about it. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow for another episode here on the Nick Bird Sports Network.